Hello, this week we're going to start Chapter 9. Chapter 9 deals with sales and cash receipts. So, this is when a merchandising business sells things and receives cash. And so, we're going to look at all the different ways to record things for there. As we're going through, we're going to start talking first about the fact that we know when a retailing business buys items from manufacturers, they then resell them to their customers, and that's called sales. We've also identified that sales is a revenue account. We also know that it can be recorded at the register, it can be charged, all those different kinds of things that we look at. So as we go through this, we're going to talk about recording cash and charge sales for the day. The first one you're going to look at is the fact that you're going to record the whole amount as sales for $3,000. Then accounts receivable for the amount that was charged and cash for the amount that was paid in cash. So in that way, then you have the total sales. We also may issue a credit memorandum. And this is if someone returns something. So we have a new account called Sales Returns and Allowance, which is a contra revenue account. So that means that it's going to be the opposite of revenue. If revenue increases on the credit side, that means sales returns and allowance is going to increase on the debit side because it's going to be the opposite. So as you can see in this example down here, they returned $10 worth of information. We don't really affect sales at all. We just do sales returns and allowance and the accounts receivable because now they owe us $10 less than they did. We also can offer something as a sales discount. So a sales discount is a deduction or reduction of the invoice. Sometimes we do sales discounts because we deal with that person a lot. They have some type of a deal with us, or maybe they are a manufacturer like us or whatever, so another business, so we could offer a sales discount. A sales discount is another contra revenue account. So it does not directly affect sales, but you do use it when you record that they paid it, and you'll have that sales discount. We'll talk about that a little bit later in more extension too. As we look at the discount period, a lot of times a business will say, if you pay your bill within 10 days, we'll give you a 2% discount. So you have something as in here where it says 2, 10, and 30. That means you get a 2% discount within 10 days or the full amount within 30. Okay, so that is to encourage people to pay their bill early, pay it on time. You also have that credit limit time, which is usually credit period, which is usually 30 days. So if you would see in 10 means no discount within the first 10 days. EOM means end of the month. So that means that it is due within 10 days after the end of the month. So again, that is your credit period. In different classes, you talk about more. We will talk about different types of credit and those kind of things a little later on when we talk about sales discount as we go through different chapters. If you're doing a sales discount, you're going to record your cash and your sales discount as debits, and your accounts receivable is the whole amount that they actually owed you. Another thing we have is sales tax payable. We know that this is a liability because you collected this from your customers and you have to give it to them and send it to the state. So if you were recording sales for the day that were charged or sold for cash, you would have to add, this is the same one we saw earlier, but you'd have to add this $150 for sales tax payable. What that does is say that we also had that transaction of sales. We collected $150 up here that was actually tax that is not included in our sales, but that's how we recognize it there. Some other transactions you're going to see is you're going to see things that could say sold on account right here, that on account. That basically means you sold it to someone, they're going to pay you later, they charged it to you. My college professors always say they sold it on account of, they had no money right now. So basically you sold it on account because they didn't have any money right now. And then you can see where you have that terms 2, 10, and 30. If they pay it by the 13th of April, they would get a 2% discount. If not, they have to pay the whole thing. So you're going to see where it says maybe received cash, sold on account. You have to decide how you're going to do those transactions. Here's just a sales invoice for you guys to look at. As we go through here, we're going to just talk about if there is a sales receivable or sold merchandise to house clothing, how you just do the accounts receivable and the sales right away. We get on to all the complicated stuff as we receive it. We have what we call accounts receivable subsidiary ledger. You're also going to have accounts payable, which is in the next chapter, but accounts receivable is just a special ledger. It only contains the names of the people who have accounts with you, people that can charge with you and who owe you money. So in the subsidiary ledger, we arrange them alphabetically. And if we added up all the balances, it would equal the same as your accounts receivable account in your balance sheet. So this accounts receivable account is a controlling account. And if I take the balance of that, I can add all these up and it'll be the same. So no longer in accounts receivable are we going to list the people's names. We are actually going to post them into a separate ledger. So when you post for accounts receivable, you're going to post in 2 different places. Okay, we talked about that before posting. Okay, you just talk a little bit more about posting in here, posting, recording sales. Make sure you track through all that and look at that and see how they do it. You will notice that when it is accounts receivable house clothing, they do it to house clothing plus accounts receivable, and then also to sales. So you'll notice that they'll put a line through there and they'll talk about you're doing it in both places. Okay, so you're going to make sure you get them. We briefly talked about a credit memorandum, and a credit memorandum is issued when something is wrong. So if you buy something and it's damaged and you take it back to the store, that is a credit memorandum. That means it's going to subtract how much the customer actually owes you. So credit memorandums can be listed because goods weren't correct, they got the wrong ones, they were damaged, they got more than they needed, all those different kinds of things. So credit memorandum, this is what it would look like. And we've already talked about the fact that sales, returns, and allowance is a contra revenue account. Sales receipt transactions, they are actually journalized and posted. You can, if there are cash receipts on account, you're going to journalize for the month, you're going to post it to the general ledger, and then you'll post it to the subsidiary ledger also. And they give you a lot of really good examples to be able to look at and see how things go. The book does also, and so does this PowerPoint. So you can kind of walk yourself through and see how they did the posting and how things look and work. So this chapter is nothing new really on the transactions. You've seen a lot of these transactions before. It's a little bit new how we record them and definitely new of where we post them. So make sure that you read your transactions thoroughly. Make sure you know if they're on account or if they pay with cash. And that's usually one of the biggest problems that I'll have a student come across. They put something that was bought on account that was paid for with cash. They put something that was paid for cash or bought on account. So it can be kind of confusing and numbers get mixed up. So make sure you read those and understand that for sure. Again, let me know if you have any questions. I'll gladly help you at any time. We can Skype some evening and look at actual problems and look at your My Accounting Lab and see what is going wrong and those kind of things too. So have a great day and let me know if you need anything.